So in this video, your objective is to identify what type of bone is presented on the following slides. I'd also like you to take a shot at identifying which specific bone it is. I'll give you some clues along the way to help you out. You're going to have approximately 20 seconds to look at the slide. Here we go. So the key identifiers on this bone are right at the top here, and this flat section down here. Here's one with key identifiers labeled. The letter A should give this bone away. Don't forget to name what type of bone it is first, and then which specific bone it is. This is the same bone pictured anterior and posteriorly. Some keys to this bone are down here and right here. What is this bone? This angle right here can be a key. What bone is this arrow pointing to? What about this bone? Some of the keys might be right here on both sides. These sections of the bone right here. This bone here, letter H, gives you a good clue as to what bone this is. What we're looking for here is the total structure that is colored in, not the individual colors, but this entire colored area. What would we call that? What type of bone is it? Think about what it is designed to do. Again, what is the arrow pointing to? What type of bone is this? If you're really good, you'll be able to tell me which bone this is. And that's going to be based on the position of this bone and this bone. What about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4 is a good indication of what bone this is, as well as 11 and 15. What about all of these colored bones? They're all the same type of bone. What type is that? If you're good, you're going to be able to name at least A, B, can probably name D as well. This is an inferior view, and this is a superior view. Here's one with a little trivia question. What's in the box? This bone, these two ends give you a good clue right here, in this circular portion, and this end right here. Next up, here's an easy one for you. What type of bone is this? What I'm looking for is this tan area. What type of bone is this tan area here? Leave these white ones out of it. What specific bone is this? What about these colored bones? What is the name of these type of bones? Which bones are they specifically? What about this bone? Think about what it's designed to do. Clues will be this angle right here, as well as this long stretched out piece. We've seen similar bones to this, but what type is this one? You might even be able to name where this bone falls. And finally, what is this bone? The big clue is going to be right here. Where do you think that might fit? Okay, you may want to hit pause on the video right here and look over your list. We're now going to proceed to identify what joint type is being exhibited here. So what I want you to do is the same thing. Identify the type of joint. You may use several terms to identify it, but what is the most specific type that you could name the given joint? Think of things like how many pieces are involved. How does it move? Does it move? And then give a shot at identifying which joint it is. Remember that oftentimes joints are named for the two bones that are connecting them. Ready? Okay, here we go. First joint, indicated by this red arrow. What type is it? How much movement is there? And then which joint is it specifically? Next, what joint is formed by this black line between two colored portions? How much movement? What is it designed to do? What about this joint indicated by the black arrows? Think of the movement that is allowed at this joint, and that'll tell you what type it is. Which joint is it specifically? What about the joint between these two bones? This one is named for the type of bone before and the type of bone after it. What type of joint is it? What about this one? What's this total articulation called? What types of movements are involved? How is it structured? Same picture, but a different arrow location. What is this type of joint? Pointed to with the red arrow, what is that black line? What about this joint here? What types of motions can we do at this joint? Which joint is it specifically? It's named for this piece of the bone and this bone. What about this one? When these two bones go together, what's that joint called? It's a combination of terms. But what type of joint is it? What motions are allowed? This one we see on X-ray. I'm looking for the joint between these two bones right here. What about this joint that's formed right here? What motions are allowed? Which joint is this? Again, we've seen this picture, but now I want to know this light blue area. What types of joints are all of these? What joints are they specifically? Similar picture, different location. In between each of these bones is an articulation. What type is it? What motions does it do? What joint specifically are we looking at? What about this type of joint? What motions is it responsible for? How many articulations do we have? And which joint is it specifically? Posterior, anterior view. What about this one? We're not concerned about this joint up here, but what about between this bone and this bone? What type of joint is located right here? And then finally, same picture, again a different location. That means it's a different joint. What type and name specifically do we see right here? Hope you're able to identify at least some of them. Take your time. Go back through the video, recheck your answers.